because your body is the only place you have to live. This month is the month of Iyar we're beginning today, and our rabbis tell us that the word Iyar stands for Ani Hashem Rofecha. The Aleph stands for I am, the two Yuds is God's name, Rofecha, I am God, your healing, and your healer. And of course, health and healing is a tremendous blessing. But it's interesting that this week's Torah portion talks about a different form of health. This week's parsha is about the sin of gossip and Lashon Hara. And it talks about how the Jew who spoke gossip would get a blemish, saras, and would have to go to the Kohen to examine his skin to see if he committed the sin of Lashon Hara. And you know, there's a term called a physical, where you go for a physical examination. This is like a spiritual. You go to the spiritual Kohen to determine if you have a spiritual defect, which manifests itself in a physical way. And the idea is that we always go for physicals to make sure we're physically fit. But where do we go for a spiritual? Where do we make sure we're spiritually fit? And it's interesting, many of the things that go on in a doctor's office in your physical could be related to a spiritual way too. One of the things they do is they take your blood pressure. They want to see your heart rate, for example. There's a spiritual heart rate. How fast or how well does your heart beat for another human being, for Hashem? How much inspiration and awe do you have when you see God's hand in your life? That's your spiritual heart rate. When you go to a physical, they give you a stress test. Well, there's a spiritual stress test. Do you get stressed out every time there's a problem in life? Or do you have confidence and trust in Hashem? You have bitachon, you have faith. Because if you don't have faith, you get stressed out over every problem because you think the world's coming to an end. You don't have trust in Hashem's big plan. So there are many elements in the physical test that could be applied to the spiritual. For example, they check your weight. You want to see how your diet is. Just like you have a physical diet, you need a spiritual diet. A spiritual diet is prayer, Torah study, good deeds, Torah, tefillah, tzedakah. Is your soul well fed, or is it malnourished? Is it deprived of the nutrients, the spiritual nutrients your soul needs to be healthy and vital and vibrant and strong? So we always have to think that it's not just enough to be physically fit, but you also have to be spiritually fit. And I just want to tell the following story. There's a story told about a little boy who was having dinner with his father. And suddenly his father clutches his heart and falls to the ground, collapses. He has a heart attack. The little boy's 5 years old. He's panicked. He runs to the phone. He dials 911. Within minutes, there's sirens and the paramedics come running up. They see the father laying there and they dash to the ground and they start to take his pulse. And the little boy is 5 years old, he's crying, he's frightened, he sees his father on the floor, and he screams at the doctors, the paramedics, said, no, doctor, it's not his hand, it's his heart. And the doctor looks up and says, sonny boy, we know it's his heart, but from the hand, you can tell what's doing in the heart. It's the way we live our lives. When a person speaks gossip, it shows that his soul is defective, that he's arrogant, that he looks down on other people, that he is judgmental of other people, that he's insecure, that he has to put someone else down to pick himself up. There's so many things you could detect from a person's speech. The physical actions of a person tell you about their soul. So it's not enough to have a physical. We need to be healthy also spiritually and make sure that we do our own. Today we don't have a Kohen Gadol to go to, but we have to, as much as possible, to ask ourselves those questions and evaluate our spiritual health, because our spiritual health will, of course, impact our physical health as well. I have office hours, yeah.